Hello, members, subscribers, and guests of the channel. My name is Yuri, and today I'm sharing life lessons I learned from the dating apps. Some of you who followed my channel for a while have heard me talk about dating apps on a number of occasions. And I actually have a couple videos on my channel specifically pertaining to relationships that were obtained from the dating apps. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what they are. So one of the videos I have is called "Moving On from the Heartbreak," true story that happened with me and the person that I've met from the dating app. And another video I have on my channel is more of a positive one. It's called Russian Man's Long Distance Relationship Story. But the gist of this one is the story about the person that got away, a good relationship that didn't work out. So you can check out those videos if you haven't watched them. I'm going in depth pertaining to these individual relationships, so they could be of interest. But today, I want to take a time to discuss my lessons, my experiences in general form. So today is going to be more of a conceptual conversation based on my takeaways from being on dating apps for about 7 years, because I got on there about 2015 and I did not get off of it 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks or something like that. Now they completely off my phone. I'm done with them once and for all. I don't want no part of it no more. Out of the game. I retired from the dating apps. Decision has been made. Let's see who we have with us live. Looks like Yvonne is here. Thank you for being here. It looks like Heather is here. Appreciate you being here. Remember that if you're watching live, be sure to drop a comment. Say hello. Say where you're watching from. Also, remember, in order for me to see who you are, you have got to comment, and I'll bring your comment on. Hello, Becky. Thank you for being here. Hi, Liz. Appreciate you joining me live. And of course, throughout this talk, please engage with me. Leave me a comment, ask a question, share your experience. Let me know if it resonates with you. Hi, Jessica. Hello from Texas. Awesome. Hello from Florida. Appreciate you being here. Let's jump in. Lesson number 1 that I learned from being on the dating apps. Finding your person is hard. There are so many people on the dating apps. And on one hand, it seemed like a great advantage, because all of a sudden you have access to thousands of people in your immediate geographical area. And this is great. This is sort of a passive way to get to know people. On the other hand, though, what that means is that you have to sort through many, many individuals to find a select few that mesh well with you. And doing so is not that easy. Doing so requires a lot of resources on your part. So I think they've done studies, where when a person at the grocery store been given 3 to 4 options of any given items that they were looking for, they were able to pick an item fairly easily. And then they gave person 15 to 20 options of the same item to choose from. And most people had a difficult time choosing. They started thinking more deeply about what item would suit their need the best. They started taking more time, and they had a hard time deciding and choosing. So imagine using this example, but magnifying it to 100 or thousands of degrees, because you no longer have just a few people to choose from. As I mentioned, you have thousands of people to choose from. And it becomes a- an obvious thing after a while, because you continue to review the profiles, you continue to swipe, and you get a sense almost that, well, if this person doesn't work out, then maybe that other person will work out. And if the other person won't work out, then there's someone else that, will come along that I clearly will be able to come across of. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Let's see if we have some comments. I think we have some more people coming in. Vladimir, hello. How are you, sir? Привет, привет, как дела? I think it's my a Russian friend in here. Olga, British Fellows, hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Janaya, I'm going to mispronounce your name again. How are you? Thanks for being here. Yeah, there's a lot of people from Texas here. I like it. So, besides the fact that you have these large numbers to choose from, obviously, culturally speaking, you know, not everybody taking apps seriously, dating apps. And you could be in disadvantage if you are speaking with someone that you like, particularly like, and who is actually kind of just passing by and not really interested in, you know, finding a legitimate relationship or engage in actual dating practices, who's just kind of hanging around. And so that could be a conflict of interest there. Just one example. But you have to, in a way, sort out a lot of people. And it felt like looking for a needle in a haystack a lot of times. And so finding your person is hard. That's a lesson number one. Lesson number two, trust must be earned, not given. Now, you probably heard some people say, you will have my trust until you abuse it. I don't ever understand. I never understood this type of approach, because trust is not something that should be given up front, in my opinion. And when it does, people can pay a very significant price. In my opinion, in lesson that I learned is that you give a little bit of trust as you go. It's like trials to become a professional athlete. You don't get to play professional ball until you prove your ability to play in a professional league. Plain and simple. So for me, it does not mean that you're going to mistreat somebody or you're going to have a poor attitude towards somebody. Not at all. That just means you're still interested in the person. Obviously, you're still trying to get to know the person, but you're getting to know the person in a way. You being cautious. That's all it is. You're being cautious. And it's even funny. It feels funny even trying to explain this, because to me, it's common sense. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Are you kind of person who just gives trust right away, wholeheartedly? Or do you think that that's a dangerous predicament? Because now I just caught myself trying to justify, as to why that should be done that way. And I don't think that I should be trying to justify it. For me, it's plain and simple. You know, you you go through alphabet, or you go to a next stage of a relationship once you completed the previous stage. right? It's like playing a video game. You complete one level, then you go to the next level. You can't be at level two if you haven't completed level one. In other words, um, you want me to you want me to trust to introduce you to my friends, right? You want me to have that level of trust in you to take you around my friends. Well, you need to act appropriately first in public. I need to know that I can at least be somewhat confident in your ability to be respectful, in your ability to communicate well, in your ability to listen, in your ability to communicate, right? Did I say communicate? I might be repeating myself, but communicate not just in the sense of talking, but communicate in the sense of being socially aware of the situation. I need to I need to know these things about you. I'm not going to assume that by the time I'm going to start, taking you around my friends, um, you want me to, you know, come in and let's say, what other example can I give you? Mm, you want me to spend significant amount of time with you, for instance, going on a trip out of town together. So being in being together, but you know, sort of in the situation where it's just two of us and we hang out together for extended period of time. So it's almost like you're being in a somewhat of a confined situation together, right? So in order for me to be comfortable there, again, I need to see what are you about. There's a certain level of trust that should be earned at this point. I'm not going with you on a weekend trip together if I have doubts about you. I just don't want to do it. Not going to do it. Let's see some comments. Olga said, I think when people go on dating sites, they are putting themselves in a position when they initially limit themselves from real human interaction, and it's sad. Jessica said, I agree. I will give you my trust when your actions follow your words. I have had to take a break from apps too. Yvonne said, depends. I trust easily. Sometimes that serves me well, sometimes it doesn't. Give me an example when it serves you well, Yvonne. I would like to know. Hi, Braina. Thanks for being here. Baker, I'll give a certain amount of trust to show I'm open, but not completely. Then I mostly follow my instincts as I get to know them. Armely, hi everyone. I'm Armely from Switzerland. Hi, thank you for being here, Armely. Appreciate you. Yeah, I agree. Trust must be earned. It takes time for me. Lesson number 3 that I learned, there is a cost to everything. And this is no different with dating apps. Because when you start going on these dates, you realize that it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of your attention. It requires a lot of your resources. So you would need to drive somewhere to meet someone. You would have to pay for dates. You would have to be there, listen to them, being attentive to them. Um, you would have to do all these different things to make this dating process successful. And all these things are resources. All these things are not easy to come by, I would say. And so it's interesting because it may seem as if, oh, online dating, there's a lot of freebies in there. It's easy. And that's not always necessarily true because your attention is a resource. When you're sitting someone with someone on a date and when you're listening to them, there's a lot of energy that you got to be able to spend in order to listen to that person. And sometimes, I mean, it's with man, we do these things, right, to get a cookie. Everybody knows that. Sometimes you do that because in in certain situations you do that because from the beginning you could be flawed. You may be driven by physical attraction. You're trying to get a cookie, and you sit there, and sometimes you might not even, like halfway into the date, you might not even be that interested about the person, but you already, you know c- committed to it. In your mind, you already drove there, you already talked to the person, you know and sometimes it could be even like an immature thing. Okay, well, let me just, I mean, I'm here, might as well just continue on, right? Versus then just finishing up the date and saying your goodbyes and going your separate ways. Point being, sitting there and listening in any event, whether you're interested or not interested, requires energy, requires attention. And attention could be given differently too. You know, attention doesn't mean just being there. Attention actually means paying attention while you're on the date. While you're on the date, listening intently, communicating back and forth. Um, that is not free. That that requires effort. Needless to say, paying for the dates. There's a it's a literal cost, not figurative cost. Literal cost. You're going to have a bill to pay. um, so I think in the beginning, you know, ladies, you can tell me if you agree or not, but in the beginning, when it comes to traditional dating, it makes it a little bit more um, manageable for the ladies. From a traditional dating sense, men should be doing a lot of things, should be initiating the date, should be picking the place to go. In some instances, sometimes picking up a woman, but if even if not, then I know in the West, in America in particular, people drive or people take Uber. But even then, making sure that bill is being taken care of, all these different things. So if we're speaking from a traditional dating standpoint, then it's definitely more prep and more steps on the behalf of the man that must be completed. But there is a cost to all of this. The planning of time, right? The time is probably the biggest resource. So for from a man's perspective, now that I'm a little bit older, I mean, I realize how much time, I hate to say wasted, because again, at the time it seemed like it was a good thing to do, it was the right thing to do, but it was a lot of time used, some of that probably could have been used on my own personal self-development versus going on these dates. And I'm sure some of that actually did help me to develop. But this is a big one. Time being primarily cost, in addition with all the attention, all the actual resources, is a big one. Yvonne said, I have trusted people and found them to be trustworthy people. Nice. Diana, hello everyone. What did I miss? You're going to have to go back and watch again. Thank you for being here. Daphne, hello, I'm here too. Thanks for being here. I'm cheap. Chipotle or Chick-fil-A works for me. Nice. Nice. Lesson number 4, casual dating leaves a void. I think a lot of men love the idea of casual dating. I mean, we show up, we go on a date, we hang out, then we have access to intimacy, which most of us want, and you can do it a number of times, and you can feel on top of the world. You can feel like you're doing this dating thing without commitment. You get the physical aspect of things out of it, and things are just great, you know except that it gets to the point where something is missing. And that gets interesting because in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't really care necessarily about relationship right now, or I don't really care about relationship with that woman. So I should be content to do what I do, to just enjoy life and hang out. But you get to a point where it feels as if there should be more, right? There should be more to a relationship. And I think some of that, I honestly think, has to do with the fact that um, that person is not your person. You can hang out with people, and you can even have intimate relationships with people. And it could be really, really fun thing to do. But the companionship aspect of it, the relationship part of it, the friendship part of it, and the friendship, and again, we talked about friendship on a number of occasions. So maybe not just friendship, but a bond, right? The real bond, that thing, that connection that people seek for in a relationship, that is not there. And I think intuitively, you know that that exists. And I think intuitively, as a person, you want that. You seek that because once you experience it at least one time, you know how great it feels to have that connection with someone. And so casual dating alone, only casual dating, will leave that void. Daphne said casual dating equals ego. Jessica, okay, look, every instance is a lesson. You have to be careful because feed your ego can hurt someone else, and that's not fair to the other person. The ego thing is very real. It is very real. I know I've had it. I've had it for a long time. I know that I attach my self-worth to the to my ability to date women and obviously to be successful with women. And I think there's a lot to unpack as far as why it was happening, but at the end of the day, it was there, and it took a while to figure that out. And now seeing how it was playing out and understanding that some of the actions were in fact driven by my ego is interesting, you know is very, very interesting. And I think many people go through that. I would imagine many men go through that situation. Fourth point has hit home. Nice. Becky said, I think casual dating is good sometimes, especially if I'm feeling numb or hurting, don't want to have a relationship. It depends on my needs at the time when I'm single. I will be celibate at times too. Hello, Yuri. Hello, everyone. Hi, Jenny. Appreciate you being here. It takes me to my last point. Being single is not a bad thing. This is what I learned because being single who is working on himself and who realize that being single isn't the end of the world is a powerful thing. I found myself in the past get into dating and get into even in some relationships in the past just to feel needed, sometimes to what do you call it? F- feed my ego. Sometimes to feed my ego, sometimes to for other reasons, you know. And now at this point, I realized that that's one of the lessons. It's not worth it doing any of those things in order to either impress someone else or to make yourself feel adequate or to abide by society standards or just not to be alone. Any of those things, I can no longer justify that anymore. What I can justify at this point is finding someone that I can truly connect with, someone that, I can build something, someone that I can have a true bond with. And that feeling is real. When you have those type of connections, those connections, can give you wings. These connections are multifaceted. They're not just connection in the physical sense to where you have a great time, um, intimacy wise. You have great conversation with someone. You you have fun together. You can't wait to see this other person. That other person adds value to your life. You know, this is not just because she has a nice booty or whatever other body parts. And right, so there's this multifaceted approach that happens, and that person makes you feel a certain type of way, and you actually like to spend time with that person. That's the key for me. So unless you have that, that is worth pursuing, right? But having a relationship just for the sake of not being alone, I know a lot of people do it, and to each their own. No judgment will be imposed from my end. For me personally, the lesson is clear. Being single is not a bad thing. In fact, I would argue that being a single person is better than being in a relationship with someone for wrong reasons. That is 100% true in my book. Daphne said, I've been single for 6 years now, only broken by a few short adventures. I like adventures. I like that. People get into relationships in order to avoid being alone, which leads to more heartbreak. That's for sure. I would love to see Yuri's dad. I think he would be great at it. God's willing, one day. I think you were talking about something before. Jessica said the soul bond is real and it's so hard to find mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The person just gets you. You will just know your person when you look at them. It's all energy. Yes, being single is better than being with the wrong person. Joe said, my college professor used to say marriage is a business relationship. Not sure I understood it back then, but now as I see people around me, I understand. It seems that way, doesn't it? DM Yuri, you missed the point. The point is they avoid facing themselves. Expand on that a little bit, Daphne. Who avoid facing themselves? Um, Life and money matters. I don't believe in instant soul bonds, but I believe in long lasting, compassionate bonding and love. Liz, being single is not the end of the world. Being unhappily married, ooh. I couldn't even finish the sentence. I was like, ooh. Being single is not the end of the world. Being unhappily married is. I can only imagine what it would be like if you are in unhappy marriage. I would imagine a feeling of helplessness, a feeling that you are, I was going to say in a cage. That's terrible. That's terrible analogy. But in a way you are. And what do you do? Because if you are married to a person who is not willing to adapt, right? Because people hate hearing word change. Like the people cringe. Change? I have to change? Why would I change? You not wanting to change? Why would I want to change? I am who I am. I am good the way I am. I don't want to change. So we're going to use word adapt. I don't believe that you can go through marriage without adapting to your partner and to life, because life is going to change all the time. So if you married and you're not adapting, then forget about it. But so the question becomes, when you have an disagreement, how are you adapting? And are you a type of person who is able to adapt? Like if you have this conversation to where you don't see eye to eye, are you able to state your position without offending or belittling opinion of your significant other, your husband or your wife? Because if you're unable to do that, and if they can feel that you don't appreciate or that don't take their opinion into account, then the damage already done. The damage already has been done at that point. So I'm staying on here on this comment because how do you do that? How do you do it in a marriage? I imagine that you must have two people who are so committed to their marriage and who are communicating so well, and who are making who are kind of like even putting their needs aside for the betterment of the marriage. That's the ideal I have. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I never been married. So quite frankly, I've had relationships where it felt like, particularly couple, that it felt like, well, particularly one, keep going back, particularly one that felt like marriage, and arguments we had, goodness gracious, it was terrible. Being single is great because I can have friends without any arguments. Plus, I like my alone time and not afraid to be alone. I seek others because I want them, not need them. DM, when we are alone, we are faced with ourselves. We get to know ourselves, also our light and our darkness. It is an opportunity for getting to know yourself, heal yourself, and get comfortable with yourself. Love yourself. Otherwise, how do you expect another person to like or love you when you can't stand yourself? Powerful point. Ivan, you definitely have to adapt in marriage. DM, people jump from shallow relationship to relationship often because they can't stand themselves. They cannot be faced with the void. Yeah, I do think there's something to this. I do think that taking time, it's like, meditating, right? The analogy that I'm going to use, it's like calming your mind, closing your eyes, sitting and focusing on your breathing, right? When you do that, you allow your body, you kind of resetting your body in a way. You can be in that moment of time focus on being alive and being with yourself, being, embracing that moment. So why am I even talking about that is because it's sort of like being single. It's similar in my opinion. You taking, if you really paying attention of how you're feeling being single, and if you do some introspection during that time to figure out what it is that you really want out of a relationship, and what are you going to bring into a relationship, and what relationship you would be seeking for that would fulfill you, right? So you can, if you take the time to answer some of these questions, I do think that you might emerge on the other side as a better partner going forward. But it definitely takes some self work to do that. I don't think that everybody is willing to do that, because to your point, it's easier to jump to the next relationship, and it's easier to blame someone else for not, you know, making things work. Self work is always hard. Jenny, I will have to go, but I'll have to say I was married, divorced, dated one after divorce, and broke up. I have been through some difficult cycles. Been there, done that, come a full circle. Thank you for saying that. Finally realized that I'm so much happier alone. Appreciate you sharing this. Hello, Sam. Thank you for being here. Better late than never. We're just talking about 5 lessons. Well, not 5 lessons, just I ended up 5 lessons, but um I didn't even I didn't even play the scroll thing the whole time. Whoopsies. The topic of today's talk was lessons, like, goodness gracious. Let's just restart everything. The topic is life lessons I learned from the dating apps. This was the topic, and this was honestly the last one. Let's do a quick recap. I talked about finding your person is hard. I talked about trust must be earned, not given. I talked about there's a cost to everything. I talked about casual dating leaves a void. And I talked about being single is not a bad thing. These are my life lessons that I learned from the dating apps. I'm happy to report that I'm not coming back to the dating apps, at least in the foreseeable future. Um, I feel good being single right now, and no stress, no stress whatsoever. I am, my members know, if you watch my last member dedicated video, I am taking salsa lessons. So I'm meeting people through that group. I I think I become more comfortable with approaching people in public if I feel like, you know, there is some connection or there is some attraction. And that's the way I'm going to approach it going forward. I'm not really worrying about, seeking people online anymore. I'm coming back to the roots, coming back to the basics of being able to connect with people face to face. That's where the magic happens. Let's wrap this up, shall we? Liz said marriage is a long conversation. Yes, it is. DM said easier on one level, on another, it's not easier. It will lead to heartbreak away. Yvonne said, I'm happy regardless. I was happily married and now I am happily single. Life is what you make of it. Jenny said, what I learned from dating apps, they are broken people hurt people, so stay clear of them. Loud and clear. Becky said, for me, dating apps are essential if I can meet the kind of man I like in the local area I live in. Sam said, meeting people in real life is a 3D experience, much richer and more fulfilling. I agree with that. Diana said, I've never tried dating apps before, but I would love to try and see. My friends, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining today's live talk. Before you go, mark your calendars for the next live talk. Sunday, July 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. As always, I'm looking towards your feedback. If there's a particular topic that you dying to hear about, please send me a message on Instagram or send me a message on Twitter or join my Discord community. You should do that anyway. If you're interested in joining Discord community, you can just send me DM on my Instagram at Peace Prototype, or you can, I think it'll be the easiest. You can send me an email as well. Um, I will include all that information in the description of this video. And just to remind you all, if you want more content specifically as it pertains to my experiences from the dating apps, I featured a couple videos that you can watch. This one will tell you about my heartbreak story with with the person from the dating app that I've met. So it's called moving on from the heartbreak, my true story. That's the thumbnail of the video, so you can check that out. And if you want more happy story, maybe not with so happy end, happy end, but nonetheless, the actual story was was good. You can check out this video. So Russians man long distance relationship story, the one that got away. Um, some of you probably have seen that, but if you haven't, these are videos where I'm going in deeper into the stories that happen, with two of my relationships from the dating apps. Polar opposite stories. One is pretty traumatic that could have left me broken, but I collected the pieces, regained myself. At the time, it was hard. It was very, very hard. And the second one was a beautiful thing that I didn't realize how beautiful it was at the time. Both are great metaphors for life, you know. One metaphor is that, the one that's got away, it seemed like a normal thing, regular thing at the time, and then in retrospect, you realize, whoa, that was special. And the other one seemed like the other one seemed completely different from what it was actually at the time. So you can watch if you're interested. But I think this is a good place to stop. I want to give shout out to every single one of you who joined. I want to give shout out to all my amazing members. I appreciate you very, very much. We had Yvonne in the house. Thank you for being here. We had a DM in the house. Thank you for being here. Jenny was here. Thank you for hanging out. Sam was here. Thank you for being here. Liz was here. Thank you for hanging out. Joe was here. Friendships. Maybe that could be a good one too. Thank you for feedback. Diana was here. Appreciate you. Beike was here. Um, Life and Money Matters was here. Thank you. Jessica was here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think Heather popped in the beginning. Olga was here in the beginning. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate every single one of you. Have an amazing Sunday. I'll be seeing you next week. All right. Thank you, my friends. Peace.